In this project, we're going to look at creating smart art, wrapping text around smart art, and appending text or inserting text from a text file. Now, you should have already downloaded the starting document, which was actually a text file, not a Word document. We're going to use that text file to insert into our document, but we're going to start with a blank document. So go ahead and open Word and pause the video while you sign into your account. And then once you're done signing in, click on blank document. Okay, now before we do anything else, let's go ahead and save the document to OneDrive. So I'm going to use the Save keyboard shortcut. And if we hover over the Save button up here, we'll see the keyboard shortcut is Control S. So hold down the Control button and press S, and that's going to take us to the Save As screen. Now that's because we haven't saved the document. Remember, the first time we click Save, it takes us to Save As. If we had already saved the document, it would simply silently save in the background. No, the Save As would not come up. So OneDrive Personal was selected already for me. If it wasn't for you, click on that. And then under Recent Folders, you should have Word projects. Now, before we actually click on Word projects, I want to mention, kind of late because this is a very late video, but we can actually pin this item to the list, so it will always appear under Recent Folders. You simply click that little pin at the end, and when it's pointing sideways, that means it's not pinned. When it's pointing down, that means it is pinned. And those folders appear at the top of Recent Folders. So that can be handy if there's a folder like the Word Projects folder that we're using all the time. So now go ahead and click on Word Projects. And let's save this as Project 15 followed by your name. Note the save as type is Word document. We're not saving a template as we did last time. We're saving a document, so that's good. Click on Save. Okay, and we're going to, this document is going to be about the state government of the state of Maine. And it's based on an organizational chart. It's a simplified version of an organizational chart that is available on the state website at maine.gov. Um, we're definitely going to simplify it, and it may be inaccurate even. Um, there are some lines that don't exist here, and I'm not completely sure I understand why. So um, we're going to go ahead and set it up a little bit differently, but it's going to be close to accurate, and it'll give us a chance to play around with smart art. Okay, so let's go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and click on the Smart Art button in the Illustrations group. Smart Art is used to visually communicate information, as it says here on the pop-up. This can include things like organizational charts, like we're going to do, as well as Venn diagrams and um, graphical process diagrams, things like that. So let's click on Smart Art, and we can choose the type of graphic. Before we select our type, let's go through these. Obviously, all shows everything, and you'll notice the headings here um, allow you to, or show you how these are grouped. But we can click on individual ones here. These are lists, and you can just kind of click through them and see what they would look like. Processes, cycles, hierarchy, and here's the organization chart that we're going to be using. But you can see there are a number of other uh, styles. Relationships, matrix, pyramid, and then picture. Okay, so let's go to hierarchy and click on organization chart, the first one in the hierarchy list, and click OK. Now we'll play around with the formatting of this in a moment, but for starters, we just need to type in the text. There are two ways we can do that. The first is using the list over here. The second is to click within the SmartArt itself. So let's look at both of those. Now at the top of state government is the citizens of the state of Maine, so let's type citizens. Now this next level, if where we had citizens we had CEO, this next one down might be something like an executive assistant. We don't actually need that one, so what we're going to do is hover the mouse to where you see the move cursor, click there, and then press the delete button. And that gets rid of that. Now again, this is going to be slightly inaccurate because actually the judicial branch doesn't have a direct tie to the citizens, but it's close enough. Now notice that as we type words that are too big, the font gets resized. That's really nice. And it gets resized across all of these so that some of them don't look larger than others, which is good. Okay, so that is the basic structure of state government. We have the citizens, and then below them we have the three branches. If we go back to our original chart, now the governor is actually the head of the executive department. So we could change executive here to governor, or we could add a shape. So let's try this. Click the arrow for the Add Shape button and choose Add Shape above. And now click on the new blank box and type governor. So now we have the citizens, the governor, the executive branch, citizens direct to judicial, and citizens direct to legislative. Okay, now click legislative. And we'll notice on the organizational chart we have the Senate and the House and the Legislative Council. These make up the legislative department. Now again, we're grossly simplifying this, so let's simply add Senate and House as reporting to the legislative. Not technically accurate. They are actually part of the legislative. They do not report to the legislative, but that's okay. So let's click the arrow again and add shape below. And then we can click over here in the left in the list, and we'll type Senate. And now if we press enter, this will create a new item at the same level, and so this will be House. Now this is technically correct, but it makes it feel to me like the Senate is somehow below the House. So let's change how this is laid out a little bit. Click on Legislative, and then up here in the Create Graphic group of the Smart Art Tools Design tab, click the Layout button, and click Standard. This is going to place them next to each other. Now, the governor to executive looks kind of weird with the right hanging there, so let's click on governor, and let's click the same Layout tab and click Standard again. That makes um, the line go straight down. Okay, and that I think is enough of our grotesquely misrepresenting state government. Now let's play around with the design and format. Now, as we saw before, we have various layouts that we can use, and if you hover over these layouts, it will give you a preview of them. This is the layout gallery. Remember, galleries just have this look to them. And you always have a More button that gives you an expanded gallery. So go ahead and choose one of these that you like. And it really doesn't matter which one you choose. Okay, now we have in the Smart Art Styles group here, we have change colors. So choose a color scheme that you like. Can be any one of these. And then in the Smart Art Styles gallery here, hover over the options and see how each of these change things. So this one has kind of a gradient effect on the items in the boxes. This one has some shadow. We could go 3D or slightly different 3D. This is considered beveling. That effect is called beveling. And again, choose something that you like. I think I'm going to go with this one. Okay, now click the Format tab. And this gives you options to further customize the styles, both of the shapes and of the text. Okay, so the word art styles affect the text, and the boxes themselves are affected by the shape styles. You can also arrange, set the wrap on this, which we're going to look at in just a moment. And you can align and rotate as well. You can also change the size. Now, depending on the size of your screen, you may have these as buttons, or they may appear right on the ribbon. On wider screens, they appear right on the ribbon. Back on the Smart Art Tools Design tab, let's just look at the other options in the Create Graphic group here. If I click on Executive, we've got buttons to promote. So this would be, for example, to make the executive branch on the same level with judicial, governor, and legislative. Technically, the governor is the head of the executive branch. I think he's technically part of the executive branch as the head of that, but so this would be incorrect. We can then demote. That puts him back down. We can, if we click on governor, we have options to move up and move down. And then we can switch the design from right to left. So that affects everything. The text pane option allows us to, or button, allows us to make this text pane here go away or come back. Okay, so let's go back to Smart Art Tools Format. Click Arrange if you have that. If not, click right on Wrap Text. And we're going to play around with these some more in a minute, but for now, let's choose Tight. Okay, now position your mouse over the lower right resize handle. That's that little box there. You know you've got it right when the cursor looks like it looks on my screen right now. And then you want to click and drag up and to the left. Now click anywhere off of the Smart Art graphic. And now we're going to look at inserting that text file that we downloaded. So click Insert. Over here in the text group, depending on the size of your screen, you may have a text button instead of a text group. So if so, click on that. You've got a number of buttons here. We've played around with some of them, like last time we looked at quick parts. There's one here that says Object. This is usually used for inserting things like other Word documents or Excel spreadsheets in your document, but it can also be used for inserting text from a text file. So click on the arrow next to the Object button, and then click Text from File. This will take you into the Word Projects folder. Now, when you downloaded the starting document, you most likely placed it in the Downloads folder. So over here in the navigation pane, under Favorites, you want to click on Downloads. That will take you to the Downloads folder. This defaults to showing you all Word documents. So choose the drop down that says All Word Documents and click on Text Files. This will show the Project 15 text. So click on that and click Insert. It asks you about the encoding. Windows default is what you want. What that exactly means is beyond the scope of these videos, but understand that if you see lots of weird characters in here, you want to play around with the other encodings. Just try each one and you should find one that works. So click OK. All right, so now we have our text document, which was taken from Wikipedia. And then below that, we have our Smart Art. Click on the Smart Art to reselect it and position the mouse anywhere on the border to when the cursor looks like it looks on my screen right now. Now click and drag that up and drop it somewhere within the text. Preferably so that you can see text on all sides, because we're going to play around with the wrap here. So now let's go back to Smart Art Tools Format and go back to Arrange. Again, if you don't have an Arrange button, then look for the Wrap Text button. But if you do have Arrange, click that and then click Wrap Text. Now, if you hover over these various options under Wrap Text, it'll give you a preview of what this will look like. In many cases, what you would want, for example, in this case, you'd probably want to use the square option, because that gives plenty of space around the graphic. Using the tight option looks kind of crowded in this case, but you may have a situation where you have like a circle or something, and you'd like the text to appear around the circle, and so that's when tight really works well. through in this case is the same as tight, but in some cases would be basically even tighter. The text would appear within the graphic. And then top and bottom makes it so that the text doesn't appear on the same line as the graphic. Behind text places the graphic behind the text, just like a watermark, and in front of text doesn't change the flow of the text at all, but it simply places the image on top of the text so you can't actually read the text. You could probably think of a situation where that would be useful. You can also edit the wrap points. And if you do that, you can drag these little black points to specify how the wrap, how the text is going to be wrapped. So that gives you very fine-grained control over the text wrapping. As I said, probably square is the option that you would use in this case, but it's kind of fun to use tight, so let's do that for now. Let's leave it at tight. And so we go back to wrap text and then click edit wrap points again, and that will turn off editing of the wrap points. Now move with text is checked, and that simply means that if you start typing text above the graphic up here, the graphic is going to go ahead and move with the text that it is around. Otherwise, the graphic would stay in place, and you'd have to keep track of it as you change text within your document. In a small document, that's not a big deal, but in a large document, that it can be a pain. So in general, you want to move with text, and that's why it's checked by default. Okay, so that's Smart Art wrapping and appending text. Let's go down at the bottom here and click at the bottom and then hit enter a couple of times. Now let's go to the File tab to go into Backstage View and then click Options. Now the Word Options dialog box appears. Click on Proofing. And then the very first group here is Autocorrect Options, so click on the Autocorrect Options button. You can use autocorrect to change things that you often misspell, for example, or to replace shorthand with symbols. For example, here on the list of current autocorrect text, we have opening parentheses C, ending parentheses, gets replaced with a copyright symbol. Same thing with registered trademark, trademark. Ellipsis, if you type 3 periods, it changes it to an actual ellipsis character. And if you type colon, opening parentheses, it replaces it with a frown, smiley, frowning face. Colon and closing parentheses gets replaced with a smiling smiley. And so on. If you can scroll through here, you can see all kinds of different options. So after the symbols, you see common misspellings. And the great thing here is Word comes with a bunch of things that people often misspell so that you don't actually have to think about it. If you always misspell it, or if you simply hit a wrong character as you're typing, for example, you forget to hit the space key before about and a, it'll go ahead and fix that for you. Or you type ACN instead of CAN because you're going really fast. Things like that, it'll take care of for you. Here's one. You meant to type aren't, you meant to hit the apostrophe, but instead you hit the semicolon. It will fix that for you. So these are really handy, but you can create your own as well. So what let's do is in the replace box, get rid of what's there, and let's say that I want to save time typing state of Maine, and I just want to use the abbreviation SOM. So hold the shift key and type SOM. And then in the with, change it to state of Maine. This might be handy, for example, if you work for the state of Maine and you type that a lot, or if you are somehow involved in politics and you're doing that, or if you're a historian and you write about the state of Maine on a regular basis, you can um, use that abbreviation. Maybe you're a history teacher. Whatever you are, um, sometimes you can use this not only to do replacements like this, but also your own misspellings. If there are some words that you always misspell that are not on the list, you can add those as well. But it can be handy for things like this, or even I could put in my initials. So every time I type NL, it'll replace it with Nate LeClaire. But again, for now, let's do the state of Maine here, and then simply click on Add. And actually, while I'm at it, go ahead and type in your initials as well, and let's add that as well. Okay, click OK, and click OK again, and now let's try it. SOM space gets replaced with state of Maine, and L space gets replaced with Nate LeClaire. So why does SOM not get replaced with state of Maine if I don't press the space key? Well, what if we press the E key? We've now inserted the word some. Yeah, we have some capitalization issues, but um, until you hit space, it doesn't autocorrect because it doesn't know if you're done typing letters. And then if you type a letter that is not part of that autocorrect, it knows that you don't really want the autocorrect. So um, you have to hit space in order to do the autocorrect. All right, let's click on Save, click on File, click on Share, put in my email address, make sure you type it right. Nate@nateleclaire.com. Require user to sign in if you want, and click Share. And if this is your last project of the day, click on Account and click Sign Out before you close Word. Otherwise, continue on to the next one.